The year is 410 AD, and the most powerful empire in human history is about to collapse because of a chicken. No, seriously, meet Honorius, Roman emperor, commander of legions, ruler of millions. Also, possibly the most incompetent leader in Western civilization. While barbarian hordes are literally burning Rome to the ground, Honorius is in his palace in Ravenna, and he's worried, sweating, panicking, because someone just told him Roma is lost. His face goes pale, his hands tremble, he stumbles backward. "No," he whispers, "not Roma." His advisors brace for the emperor's grief. The eternal city, the heart of civilization, gone. But then Honorius looks up with tears in his eyes and says, "My chicken? My prize chicken Roma is dead?" True story. The man cared more about poultry than provinces. And before we dive into this insane story, drop a comment right now telling me where you're watching from. Are you in Britain, the land Rome abandoned? Italy, where Honorius hid? Or somewhere else entirely? Hit that like button if you want to see how one letter changed the course of Western civilization forever. Because this gets wild. This is the emperor who, just months earlier, received a desperate letter from Britain, the province that had been Roman for 367 years, the island that gave Rome tin, grain, and silver, the frontier that held back the northern darkness. They were under attack, Saxons from the sea, Picts from the north. The legions had been pulled away to defend Italy. "Send help," they begged. "We are Roman citizens. We have been loyal for centuries." Honorius picked up his pen, and in that moment, with one letter, one decision, one catastrophic failure of leadership, he didn't just abandon Britain. He revealed something darker about Rome itself, that the empire wasn't conquered from outside, it rotted from within. This is the story of how a single piece of parchment unraveled 800 years of civilization. And why the most dangerous thing an empire can have isn't enemies at the gates. It's an emperor who doesn't care. To understand how spectacularly Honorius failed, you need to understand how he got the job in the first place. He didn't earn it. He inherited it. Born in 384 AD to Emperor Theodosius the Great, Honorius was destined for the purple from birth. And that was the problem. See, when you're born at the finish line, you never learn how to run. His father, Theodosius, was the last truly capable emperor Rome would ever see. A military genius. A political strategist. The kind of leader who could hold a fracturing empire together through sheer force of will. When Theodosius died in 395 AD, he made a decision that would doom Rome. He split the empire in half, the east to his older competent son Arcadius, the west to 10-year-old Honorius. 10 years. Old. Imagine handing a child the keys to half of civilization and saying, "You got this." Honorius never stood a chance. While other boys his age were learning to read, he was signing death warrants. While they played with toys, he was surrounded by scheming generals and ambitious senators, each one whispering in his ear, each one trying to control the puppet emperor. And Honorius learned something crucial early on. If you don't make decisions, you can't make mistakes. So he stopped making decisions entirely. He retreated into his palace in Ravenna, a fortress city surrounded by swamps, unreachable, untouchable, safe. And he filled his days with the one thing he could control, his chickens. History records that Honorius kept an entire imperial poultry collection. His favorite was a hen named Roma. He would spend hours feeding her by hand, building her elaborate coops, holding her while advisors briefed him on barbarian invasions. It's almost sad when you think about it. Here's a man with the weight of the world on his shoulders, and all he wanted was something small and simple that would never betray him, never challenge him, never ask him to be more than he was. But the world doesn't care what you want, and in 410 A.D., the world came knocking. Let's go back a few months, to the moment when everything changed. It's winter, 409 A.D. He's carrying a letter from Britain, and this letter is different from the usual provincial correspondence. This isn't a tax report or a bureaucratic update. This is a cry for help. You have to understand what Britain meant to Rome. For 367 years, since the invasion of Claudius in 43 A.D., Britain had been the edge of civilization, the final frontier, the place where Roman roads ended and the dark forests began. It gave Rome everything: tin for bronze, lead for pipes, grain for bread, gold and silver from Welsh mines. But more than resources, Britain gave Rome something intangible: proof that the empire could tame anything. If Rome could conquer the misty, mysterious island at the edge of the world, it could conquer anything. But now that edge was crumbling. The legions had been pulled away, first to fight usurpers in Gaul, then to defend Italy itself from Alaric and his Gothic army. Britain was left defenseless, and the wolves were circling, Saxons from across the North Sea. Brutal, efficient, they'd hit coastal towns in the dead of night, take everything, burn the rest. Picts from the north. They'd been held back by Hadrian's Wall for centuries, but now, with the legions gone, they poured through like water through a broken dam. Irish raiders from the west. The letter from the British civitates, the city councils, was desperate. We are being overwhelmed. Our cities are burning. Our people are dying. We have remained loyal to Rome for centuries. We have paid our taxes. We have sent our sons to serve in your legions. We are still Roman. Please, send help. The letter reaches Honorius. He reads it, and here's where the story gets interesting. Because Honorius doesn't ignore it. He doesn't throw it away. He responds. The rescript of Honorius, as it's known today, is one of the most famous documents in Roman history, and one of the shortest. Honorius writes back to the British civitates with a simple message. Look to your own defenses. That's it. 5 words in Latin. Legitimum defensionem. After 367 years of Roman protection, Roman law, Roman citizenship, look to your own defenses. Good luck out there. You're on your own. Rome wasn't coming. Rome was never coming. But here's the twist, the part that historians debate to this day. Honorius might not have even meant to abandon Britain. See, there's evidence that the letter might have been intended for Bruttium, a province in southern Italy that was also under attack. A simple scribal error. Britain instead of Bruttium. One word, one mistake, and an entire province lost forever. But you know what? It doesn't matter. Because even if it was a mistake, Honorius never corrected it, never sent reinforcements, never followed up. Britain sent more letters, more pleas. They were never answered. Let me tell you what happened next in Britain, because this is where the real story begins. When the Romano-British realized Rome wasn't coming back, they didn't just give up. They tried to hold on. They formed local militias, hired Saxon mercenaries to fight other Saxons, which, spoiler alert, didn't work out great. Within a generation, the cities were empty. The Latin language faded. The roads fell into disrepair. Everything Rome had built for 3.5 centuries, gone. Britain didn't just lose Roman protection, it lost civilization itself. It entered what we now call the Dark Ages. And that name isn't metaphorical. They literally forgot how to read and write for 200 years. The archaeological record shows it. After 410 AD, British coinage stops. No more pottery imports, no more written records, nothing, just silence. Meanwhile, back in Ravenna, Honorius is still feeding his chickens. Here's what makes this story so devastating. Britain wasn't the problem. It was the symptom. By the time Honorius sent that letter, the Western Roman Empire was already dying. Not from barbarian invasions. Those had been happening for centuries. From apathy, from leaders who stopped caring, from a system so bloated, so corrupt, so disconnected from reality that it couldn't save itself even when it saw death coming. Honorius reigned for 28 years. In that time, Rome itself was sacked by Alaric the Goth in 410 AD, the first time in 800 years that foreign invaders breached the walls. Honorius's response: he mourned his chicken. He faced usurper after usurper, generals who tried to seize power because, let's be honest, they couldn't do worse. Honorius's response: he hid in Ravenna and let his advisors handle it. Province after province stopped sending taxes, stopped acknowledging Roman authority. Stopped being Roman. Honorius's response: nothing. Absolutely nothing. And here's the thing that haunts me about this story. Honorius lived to see his empire crumble. He watched it happen in real time, and he never once tried to stop it. He died in 423 AD, still in his palace, still surrounded by luxury, still fine. He was fine. While millions suffered, while Britain descended into chaos, while Rome itself became a shell of its former glory, the emperor was fine. So what's the takeaway here? Why does this 1,600-year-old story matter? Because it's not really about Rome. It's about what happens when leaders stop leading, when institutions become so rigid they can't adapt, when the people at the top care more about appearances than reality. That letter Honorius sent to Britain, look to your own defenses, it's become a symbol of abandonment, of betrayal, of the moment when power admits it's powerless. But it's also a warning. Empires don't fall because of barbarians at the gates. They fall because of the people inside who stop fighting for them, who stop believing in them, who stop caring. Britain eventually recovered, of course. It took centuries, but it did. The Anglo-Saxons who invaded became the English. They built something new from the ruins, but they never forgot that Rome abandoned them. And Rome, the Western Empire, lasted another 63 years after Honorius died. But it was already a corpse, walking, talking, pretending. It finally collapsed in 476 AD, not with a bang, with a whimper. One letter destroyed the Roman Empire. But it was the 800 years of small failures, of compromises, of leaders like Honorius who cared more about chickens than people. That's what really killed it. The question is, what letters are we ignoring right now? What cries for help are going unanswered? And when future historians look back at our empires, our institutions, our leaders, will they see Rome? Or will they see something we managed to save because we actually cared? Drop a comment below. What modern empire do you think is making the same mistakes as Rome? And if this story made you think differently about leadership and responsibility, hit subscribe. We're diving into more historical moments that changed everything next week. Thanks for watching.